All right. So welcome, Mason, and welcome, Debbie. And this is how to create basically an offer of either a 5-day mastermind, a 5-day challenge, a summit. It's any type of product like that you want to create. And Mason is going to share with us a tracker that he has created to keep himself on track. So Mason, over to you.
So part of what we were just discussing was this past week, there are certain things I want to focus on that are important to me. And taking the idea of a bullet journal habit tracker and then using Canva, and we've talked about technology to create different things. So using this free technology, here's something I wanted created, and I'm going to show you. This is the rough draft. This is the one I'm experimenting with right now. And share screen. Why don't I see it? Hold on a second. I am not seeing it. Zoom. Unless, oh, there it is, right in front of my face. So this, coming up now, this is the one I created to test with and play with.
Okay.
So all I did.
Oh, wow. I like it.
I took, it says habit tracker, and this is a little quote that came with it, but this is editable. So I can change this whatever I want. And then, so for me, what's right now I'm really trying to focus on is making sure I'm journaling. I'm walking 3 to 5 times a week because I have a hip condition. I'm trying to get that squared in the gym. So by doing this, I can now say, okay, what have I done? For example, yesterday I did walk. Yesterday I did go to the gym. Yesterday I did journal. So there I get, so there's a nice visual.
Now, how did you create this, Mason? I mean, with what program?
So you start in Canva.
Okay.
Background document, and I will show you that. So this is what it looks like. And the reason I did this was, in bullet journaling, you have a journal with you. You write things. I'm not in the habit, I don't do that all the time. But my tablet is always nearby, good and bad. My tablet's always near me, good or bad. So thinking about that, I wanted something I could pull up on my tablet and edit and change so I can visually see it. Now, I just started with black stars. My next version is going to have gold stars. So when it comes to gold stars, because who doesn't like to, hey, I got a gold star.
Yeah.
For me, it's a visual. It is literally like an incentive, like, ooh, I did good.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to make a dumb joke here. It's just, ooh, I did good. So here's what I did. So now I go in Canva, and I'm going to show you the next version.
Mason, I want to just hang out with you as you're creating this stuff. You're uploading books and you're making journals, and now you're making this tracker, and I love doing that kind of stuff, but I never have the time to really sit and do it.
Can you see this? What do you see?
I can, yes.
So this is the one you just saw. Now this is just, I'm creating a PDF document in Canva. Okay.
Okay.
So I actually downloaded this, and then it kind of looked a little bit like this. Okay. So this is the first one you saw. Okay. Raw. Now going into September, I want something a little oomph.
Oh, look at you.
So in October, see here, the normal habit tracker is just a series of numbers. Okay. Corresponding with a date or a number of times. I found that not, I wasn't seeing how many times per week, because for me, my week is very important because my weekends, I really have, because that's when I work. So I wanted to see better how it would look on the actual weeks.
Oh, so you put the Sunday, Monday. I get it.
Yes, and I put it in sequence. So this is October, and then what I did also is I'm going to make it, when you click it, the stars will come up gold, because once again, gold star, you did good.
Yeah.
Then, because once again, we've talked before, I like power thoughts. Put a different quote in here.
Okay.
We must all suffer from one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference in discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. Because I'm trying to discipline myself into getting habits. And then same thing for, November,
And so now you have it actually looks like a calendar.
It looks like a calendar. So to make it easier to track, because right now in the first one, I can't tell, did I get 3 times per week?
Right.
Whereas this one now I can, along here, I can see what the weeks are.
Right.
So, and the biggest challenge on all this was making a calendar, because I literally had to make a calendar and then go into Paint and save it as a JPEG.
Okay.
That took me about a day and a half to figure out what I was, because it doesn't, you can make the table in Word and copy it over, but then it loses all its formatting. So I had to make it a JPEG. And then I just edit to paste. And then what I will do is, this is DocFly. It's a free, you get 3 documents free. This is how I make things that are editable. And you take this document and you can drop either a text field, paragraph field, checkbox. So what I've done is these are checkboxes.
Okay.
And with this, it's not going to activate, but you can change the icon.
I see. Okay.
I need to change.
Make it gold.
This is kind of goldish.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, it is.
And then there. That way, when that comes up, it'll come as a gold star. And this is a text field, or you could do a paragraph field. When I make those documents, when I make the points to ponder questions after these sessions, I make it so that you can either print it out and handwrite it. Some people like that, and that's cool. Or you can just type it as a paragraph field, and it'll all right there in front of you. Once again, it's just a personal preference, but it goes either way. The format, you can print this out and do it by hand, put it in a notebook, or like me, it's my tablet. I'm right there. I'm checking my points each time. I'm checking things. So that's why I did this. And then you just say this. Now, there's different apps you can use to create free editable, I hope that's a word, PDF documents, but you only get so many per month. Like this gives you 3, but I actually find it very easy to use. And of course, you can pay for the subscription. You can always pay for subscription. So that should go without saying. But as we said before, I am very frugal. We'll say the word frugal to be nice. I'm just cheap.
No, you're frugal. I get it.
I'm frugal. So this is all free and I can play with it. So the biggest thing is you have to put each square. You just have to make sure you're precise. Like I didn't down here, see, it's not quite the same. So it comes up a little bit. So you got to work on it's just practice. Work on how things move around and like that. But that is how it's created. So then.
And once you create it, then you can just duplicate it.
Exactly. So what I did was when I downloaded this first one, I just said master, and then I saved it again as September.
Okay.
So I have the master set aside. I can send that to somebody right now, and then they can rename it whatever they want. And once again, by playing with it, what do I want to do? And that's why I said, this is nice. And I was excited, but then I wanted something prettier. I thought this would be pretty. Then I wanted to do a different thought each time I looked at it. Oh, gold star is better than black star. Just these little things to customize. So this was something I played with this week and created this week. The hardest part was getting the calendar to save properly, because you see this right here is actually a little JPEG I had to create.
I see.
I got to create that, which was under Paint. What I did is I typed it up in Word and just copied it over to Paint so it stays in format, and then just save it as a JPEG and then crop it down.
Okay.
So that was in my mind, the hardest part to figure out was because
now you've got something here, Mason. This can also go with your journal. You can make this added value and sell it with your journals.
I thought about that. I just wasn't. Oh, I have other intentions for this, but we were just talking about the creation part and the idea part. Once again, I like the Canva because I am artistically challenged, shall we say. My wife, my daughter, my sons, they all are very artistic. They can draw like that. I have a hard time with this. I have a hard time visualizing this. I can visualize a story, but I have a hard time visualizing like this, colors. So this is me just playing, you know. But that's part of this whole process. When you make the mastermind, you want to play with the things that you need to create.
Exactly. Exactly.
Going back to my home page.
Yes, Debbie has a comment. Yes, Debbie, go ahead.
Mason. Sorry. So if you take out trials and errors, how long did it take you to create this?
Oh, take out trials and errors, 15 minutes. The hardest part.
All right, let's put the trials and errors back in.
I'll bet you under 3 hours. Under 3 hours, because once you figure out what you want, then you just duplicate. And then once I added coloring, let's go back. First of all, let's do this right here. I'll play with this one. So these are the questions. We're going to throw grammar out the window this morning. And for anybody who's listening, I think this is relevant because this is part of creating your mastermind. Give me just a moment to expand my screen here. Oh, here we go. So these are the questions I send out at the end of each time. Okay. So all this is I looked up a journal page. I just went to Canva, look at a journal page because I wanted something with pretty font. And then all I did was replace it. I forget exactly where I got this from. I believe I was just looking for journal pages, but I can't remember what I did. I think it was just journal pages. So when you start, you just type in journal pages, template, it'll pull up, it'll give you examples. And then all I had to do was, like any other microsite kind of product, you just type in whatever you want. And then from here, so like when I did this one, this is this week's right here. I took this, save it as a PDF, and then I don't have the document pulled up because, like I said, I haven't done it yet. You get 3 documents per month, so I want to be careful. Then you put it in here and just put down in this case, I would put down a paragraph field because your questions you're answering in a paragraph format. The hardest part, I think, actually, is this, because you have to put each one of these in there. But
again, only in your initial template, am I right?
Correct. And then once I save this, it stays. But like if you'll look down here, and I noticed this after I look at the bottom rows here, see how these aren't all perfectly aligned?
Right.
I was so excited at first, yes. But then when I started looking at it, my eyes picked up on what's different. So it's little things like this I have to play with. But this is the tedious part because you've got to put a square under each day. That's the only hard part. And once you shape your square, when you click it again, it comes up the same size. So that's easy. What's in it in terms of a star or whatever is easy. Because you can have different things.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
so Mason, like on the next month here, when you go down to the 22nd and 23rd, they're not separate. So is that kind of what you're talking about, needing to fix?
Right. See, they'll each click individually. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you look,
yeah.
See how they're not aligned perfectly? That's what was catching my eye. So when you look at the final document.
But you know what? That can be part of the charm of the document.
Yes and no.
I'm just saying.
I understand what you're saying, but it still irritates me. So
perfection.
It's it's not even doing a perfection thing. It's a professional thing because I want this to look like it's professional. So you see how it's not quite aligned along here?
You can see the little shadow at the bottom. See how the shadow right under the 22 is wider than the shadow, say, under the 26.
So it's that little stuff. And once again, with practice, it'll come easy. I just need to practice a little bit because I'm sure there's an align function in DocFly. I just didn't find it. And to be quite honest, I was just so excited to get it done and get it out of there.
Yep.
I'm like, whoa, this is cool.
So where did you find DocFly?
I looked it up. I actually went on YouTube and I said, how to create a PDF that you can edit.
Okay.
Oh.
Because once again, Adobe will let you edit stuff, but you have to pay for that next version, which Adobe is a great product. But if I'm playing with something, I don't want to put money out because I'm just playing.
Right.
Once I'm convinced of it, then I will definitely put the money into the asset. Canva, I'm using the free version, but I'm almost at the point now, some things I want to do where, you know, what, I might pay the monthly fee because I want the graphics part.
Yep.
Right.
But there's different things. I know Linda and I spoke about this. There's different apps you can use to create these kinds of things. I'm using DocFly because I thought it was a little bit easier, but there's another one. There's several of them. So just type in YouTube, how to create a PDF you can edit. And you get your choices.
Okay.
So yeah, this is what I created for me. So I just can play with it. And now I can say, like, for example, this past week, yeah, I did that. And that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. So when I look at my week, you know, and this was the first week I started putting myself to the gym. This is all part of my health focus.
Okay.
Debbie, what I was mentioning to Kathy earlier is, of all things I want to do, we're coming in here, I'm getting overwhelmed emotionally, if you will. So what will make me happiest on December 31st?
You
know,
but I can see where the number sequence here, but then when you went down to the next one, you actually put it in the week form.
Yes, that's
that would be what I could handle. This, no.
Because my goal is 3 to 5 times per week, 2 times per week. I can't tell if I made it based on this, although I did, because this is actually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's what made me go to the other part. It's trial and error, it's practice. And then I want
we're still programmed to look at things like a calendar, which is why I think the calendar version's easier. Yeah.
And then for me, because I don't really plan to get anything done on the weekend except my job, and I plan for that. So when I see those 2 days with nothing going on, I know why. This is harder. In this case, this is Thursday and Friday. Like the week before, I did my walking. So did I hit my goal? Yes, I hit my goal. So at the end of the year, the thing that will make me happiest is things related to my weight and my health. So that's why I'm trying to build habits. Habits not just only for me, but to be quite honest, habits for my family around me, because I'm doing things different. Okay. I'm making myself do things different. So at first, I need to go out for a walk. You know, I would stop or actually, this was the biggest issue right here. Food tracking. I have how I'm eating. That has an impact on the family. Okay. I say no to certain things now just because I don't want it for me. Well, once I start being focused, this makes me focus on what I'm eating. And this is literally what this looks like for me. In fact, in one of my tablet, I put this goal in here. Now, the benefit is I'm now focused on putting better stuff in my body every day. Okay.
Yep.
This is training me to be focused. De facto, my family is now used to that. So it actually showed them my new habit. So I'm very focused on this. Being focused on, will I get my walks in? Will I fill out my journal when I'm supposed to, when I want to? You know, these are all important things for me. But so that's why it's habits. Habits create the discipline, which creates everything else. So anyway, the whole purpose of our mastermind, I'm going back to everybody watching, is how do you create a mastermind? Well, here's some of the tools. Here's some of the things to play with. This was just an idea I had. Ooh, how can I do this? And then I need a little pat on the back. I'm 56 years old. You know what? I'm setting my ways and they're not good ways. So I want a pat on my back. I want a visual pat on my back.
You know what, Mason? Me being the forever entrepreneur, this is a masterclass right here.
Yes.
I have other intents for this document once it's cleaned up. I have other ideas, but that's not the purpose of this conversation today.
No, I get it. I get it. But
Now,
looking ahead, this could be a masterclass right here.
Yes. And I'll be the first to sign up. But Mason, is this something that you can also say print off the month of September to put it on a refrigerator, say?
Yes.
So that you're accountable to your family because they can see, but you have it on your pad for yourself.
Yes. You can print this out because if you print it out, it'll come out as a piece of paper. I think these might be a slightly darker blue. You just handwrite everything in. But one, I have atrocious handwriting. Okay. Two, I don't have written stuff. I don't have my books like that around me all the time, but I have my tablet always around because it can move around, pages don't flop, like that. So that's what gave me this idea. I want something. And maybe next time we talk, I'll look and see if I can pull it up on my phone. I just haven't tried it yet. Yeah. I don't see why you couldn't. You just pull up an Adobe document. It's on your phone.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just going to open it on your phone the same as you opened it on your tablet.
Right.
Then you're just going to. Yeah.
All this is a PDF file.
Okay. So question, do you have an iPhone and an iPad?
No, I have Android.
Oh, so which is what I have. So you can create this on your Android to be like what's on your iPad.
PDF is PDF.
Oh,
PDF. Yeah. That's why when you create documents or you send documents, you want to put them in PDF format because then it won't change. If I create a Word document, I know Kathy's using Apple stuff. So if I create a Word document, I send it to her, it'll come up really darn close, but not necessarily 100%. So
gotcha.
If I make a PDF, that just locks it in place. It's a picture, if you will. You know, it's a picture. It doesn't change no matter what you're looking at.
What's the app again on this one?
DocFly was the app I'm using.
DocFly, and you can do three documents
free. Yep.
Per month.
Per month. Like I said, for free. And there's other ones, and like I said, there's other ones you can use. They're all about 3 documents per month. They want you to try it and play with it. And to be quite honest right now, because now I'm just really curious, can I do this on my phone? So I'm pulling up my phone. If it's even showing up on here, habit tracker, September. Okay, we're going to open it. And it works. Son of a gun, it works.
I love it.
PDF is PDF.
Yep.
So Jason, now you get a triple gold star for today.
You know, it's these subtle psychological things.
Yeah.
You know, it's the subtle psychological things, and plus it makes me smile. It's just kind of, you know, I didn't expect to spend a half hour playing with this, but yeah, this is, you know, it's creating the discipline and the habits of doing this stuff and playing with the
Mason, this is your section of the masterclass. So by you showing this still pertains to the forest.
It's how you can create things. It's how you can change things. And we're going to talk about this today here a little bit. What I've created here impacts the way I talk to myself. We're going to talk about that today. So
I like it.
It is related. I didn't plan it that way. I was just excited to share a new thing I created because I'm having fun.
I love it.
So, but should we get started?
Yes, let's get started.
Too long.
No, I love it. I love it. So this This is our freebie, and it is how to create a mastermind, a masterclass, a summit. And we talk often about doing 5 sessions of something, because once you do 5 sessions, your audience has already connected with each other and they don't want it to end. I don't know about you, but if I've been on a 5 session mastermind with some guru, even if I think, oh my gosh, I can't really afford the next big ticket item, I still feel a little disappointed when those 5 sessions come to an end, because I've gotten to know not only that person but also the rest of the attendees that are in the group, and you start to build some relationships, which is what it's all about, is building relationships with each other. And so at that point, we're always looking for a way to connect. And so I encourage everyone that's actually watching this today to create something ongoing that your tribe can connect with you and stay connected, but you don't want to, how do I phrase this? You don't want to lock out the folks that really cannot afford to maybe buy your big ticket item if you have a big ticket item. And so as you're designing your offers, you're going to want to design something that's ongoing, that most everyone can tap into and afford. Because again, I don't know about you, but when I was coming up through the ranks of poverty into passive income, and struggling my way through as a single mom, there was a lot of times that I really wanted to connect with folks, and what they said really resonated with me, and I knew it would help me. But sometimes I kind of got ousted simply because I didn't have the finances to tap into some of that stuff. And it would have been very helpful had there been an opportunity or an option to tap into something, either free or a low entry point. So because that's who my audience is, that's who it is that I want to help. And again, I'm not saying that, if financially you're fine and want to tap in, by all means, we'd love to have you, and please participate. And that's not the point in my world. My world is to try to bring value and put some really good products and services and options out there for folks so that everyone can participate. So that's my goal. And so today, this is our free meetup on how to create a 5 session something, whether it's going to be a mastermind, a masterclass, a summit, however you're going to put that together. And so we've talked about, and I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to explain. We've talked about in each session of the 5 sessions, on session 1 is how to write out your framework and what you're going to name your masterclass or mastermind or summit, and what problem are you solving. So in session 1, we really, not only is Mason facilitating his 5 sessions, practicing on his material, but as a side note, think about when you're putting yours together, what problem are you going to solve for your attendees? That's the big one. And then what's that framework look like? I like to start with an acronym. That's always kind of fun. If you have an acronym for your 5 sessions, find a word that's got 5 letters in it that you can create an acronym, because that way your attendees remember it even more. But then we move on to session 2. And once you've decided your framework and what you're going to name this particular event that you're going to put out there, and you've decided what problem you're solving, then what platform are you going to put it on? And my favorite one, of course, is Zoom. And again, because my audience is comfortable with Zoom. As we went through COVID and everything went virtual, a lot of the schools used a Zoom-like program, or they actually use Zoom. A lot of companies use Zoom. Zoom just quadrupled in size overnight, and everybody got familiar with how to use Zoom. So I choose Zoom. My second favorite probably would be StreamYard, for those of you that are StreamYard lovers. It has a little bit different features that I like as well, and we won't get into the platforms today, but look at Zoom and look at StreamYard. And then in session 3, once you know your framework, you know what you're going to name it, you know what problem you're solving, you know what platform you're going to use. At that point, how are you going to price it? Is this going to be your entry level freebie to attract folks so that they get to know, like, and trust you? Or is this something, and you can use it twice. You can use a 5-session something as your freebie, and you can turn around and create a deeper dive into a topic and charge a higher fee for it. And it can be at any point. It can be your offer. It can be, and we, in our Build a Better Business program, we talk about your first base, your second, third, and finally, what is your home run? And your 5 sessions can be any of those. It could be your freebie first base. It could be your mid-level offer, for $47, tap in and listen to 5 sessions on this topic. It could then be your third base. It could be your bread and butter. It could be the one that people tap into, maybe make it a membership site. And that's what I've done. I have a meetup that's just ongoing, and we just keep repeating the 5 or 6 sessions, and we just keep repeating those under a membership site. So it becomes my third level, or my bread and butter. And it could even become your home run. It could be, you're going to do a big 3-day summit or a big 5-day summit once a year, and it could be your big ticket item. So you could create it however you want it to fit in. But then you have to decide how you're going to price it, where it's going to fit in, and then how are you going to do your VIP offers, because that's where you bring added value. And so then that brings us up to session 4, which is how to create your landing page and your invitation. And this can be something as simple, your landing page could be something as simple as a page in your website. And again, don't overthink this. You're thinking, oh, landing pages, I got to buy yet another program. I'm going to have to go out and figure out how to, like Mason figuring out how to do his document. You're thinking, I've got to now learn another whole program. No, if you've got a website, you can create just a page on your website. And here's the secret sauce today. When you create a page on your website, you have the choice with a toggle switch, a toggle button, whether to make it public or not. It's that simple. So create it and just unpublish it. It still sits there. It doesn't go away. You can go in and change the dates up and tweak it every time you want to do a 5-session or a mastermind or a masterclass or a summit, and then simply make it public again. And once you make it public, folks can see it, and then just open that page up on your website and copy that URL. And that's what you're going to advertise. If you have a summit coming up and you've created that page, make it public, highlight that URL. That's what you're going to sprinkle out across your social media. That's what you're going to then use in your Eventbrite. That's a great free tool to use. You can do Facebook events. You can do Eventbrite events. And my favorite is you can do meetup events. And so now that's how you're going to actually create your landing page and then turn it into an invitation. Okay. So when somebody clicks on it, it simply goes back to that page of your website, which you save all the time. You never get rid of it. You just update it each time you're going to do a new one-time event and make it public again. Is that helpful? Mm-hmm. And if you have a website where you've already connected a pay source, let's say that you're already selling either courses or you're selling, coffee mugs. Anytime you already have a pay source connected to your website, like a PayPal or a Stripe or a Square that's already connected to your website, all you have to do then at the end of that particular page is if people want to buy now or register, it just automatically takes them over to your pay source. Now, that's one direction. You can just point everybody to that landing page. But if you're saying, okay, I don't have a pay source on my website, I'm not ready to do that. I kind of want to charge something. I want to give this a try. I like to kind of do it in reverse. I make Eventbrite my landing page. Okay. Are you with me? Create everything on Eventbrite. Eventbrite already has the pay tool loaded in there. And you only pay Eventbrite if you're charging, and it's a percentage. They just take, just like PayPal or anything else, they take out their percentage to do the processing. But you could create your landing page on Eventbrite. It really is a nice looking landing page. It already has the pay button. You can put your dates, your calendar. You can do all of it in Eventbrite. And then all you have to do is sprinkle your Eventbrite URL across all of your advertising media. And if you wanted to then have that on your website, you would create a page that says, here's our mastermind coming up, and put your Eventbrite link in your website. So now instead of linking everybody back into your website to land to buy your masterclass, you can actually send everyone over to your Eventbrite, and you can even send folks that are in your website, if they tap on the I want to attend the summit page, you can even say click here and it takes them to Eventbrite. So you can make it go either direction, but the point is that once you're ready to go, you have to create some sort of a landing page and an invitation. And again, you can do it for free. This can, if you've decided this is going to be your freebie and you just want to do a few freebies, to get your feet wet, so to speak, and learn the ropes. I recommend that you use Eventbrite for your landing page, because it's kind of a done for you landing page. And then all you need to do is just save that link for all the folks that are interested. So hopefully that's helpful. And then in session 5, which is the next time, because we're on session 4, am I right, Mason? This is your session 4. So when we finally get to session 5, that's where we're going to talk about how are you going to launch this thing on launch day? Where are you going to post your replays? And then how are you going to follow up and test and measure so that you can tweak it for the next time? So, but that's for next month. So this month we're in session 4 with Mason, and this is his actual mastermind, his 5 sessions, and this is his session 4. And so we're going to turn it over to Mason. So Mason, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. And I guess the question I was trying to answer, going back to what you were saying, was I woke up wondering, I was in a bad job scenario like that, and I woke up wondering one day, how did I get here? And that really is the question I was trying to answer to myself. It started off as a journal and evolved into something more. So that is where we were at. So for me, I used the analogy of the forest. I just like the idea of nature and everything we can see through nature. Also, what I've done compared to the first 3 sessions, I slightly redesigned these slides just to be something different today. How we got here, basically 20 plus years ago, I literally woke up from a nap one day, working in a steel mill, wondering, how did I get here? I'm killing myself on rotating shift work. I mean, I can look at my resume and say how I got here, but emotionally, what? Why am I here? So I broke this down. I broke my book. Well, based on this book I wrote, I broke this mastermind down to 5 pieces, hopefully very relatable. That's the goal. This is for the person who feels like don't know where they're at. You can point to resume wise, but really you got that feeling inside, how did I get here? So using my analogy of a forest, kind of make it a little more relatable, because some of these things get a little too big picture. At least for me they are. And that's how I wrote this, was for me, they got a little too big picture. I needed to make it simpler for me to relate to. Session 1, we just talked about basically the framework. When you wake up, what does that mean? And what's the forest around you? What does it mean by a path? We're all on different paths through life. And in meadows, a meadow sounds sweet, you can rest. But then if you rest too long, it becomes a point of stagnation. So you have to make sure you understand what's going on there. Session 2, we talk about your story. You need to understand your story. To understand your story, understand where you came from, will also help you understand all the resources of power you have at your availability. Because yes, you have power available to you. And session 3, last one, this was the darker part. We all go through these dark times. Everyone goes through the dark times, period. I don't care what your bank account says, that's irrelevant. Everyone goes through the dark times. So what does that mean for you? That's what we covered last time. So today we're going to talk about groups. We're traveling groups. Through life, excuse me, we cough all the time. Through life, we're traveling. We're walking through life all the time, every day. And throughout the way, we travel with different groups. But it's important for you to understand, because sometimes these groups aren't what you would think they are. And more importantly, why are they important to you? And since we're talking about developing a mastermind, look what I just noticed. I made a typo on this slide. So, proofing and editing, we'll play with this. one of the things I like is power quotes. I call them power thoughts. These are quotes from people who, you know, in many ways, it's, I would say, wiser than me. They have a different perspective. And I liked these because when you go through life, these different groups, it may just be one person, maybe many, but understanding is, and I really enjoyed these. I think, I don't know which one is my favorite of these three. I really like the one, and I've talked this before. Sometimes one feels freer talking to a stranger than the people knows. Probably because the stranger sees us the way we are, not as he wishes to think we are. Sometimes we talk to our friends, they see the version that's clouded by and crowded by other stuff, your stupid stuff, your successes, your failures, your mistakes. That's why sometimes talking to a stranger can be very liberating. I call them airport conversations. You're sitting in the airport, you're waiting, you talk to the person next to you, and all of a sudden you can bare your soul because you know what? They can give you candid feedback because they're going on one plane one way, you're going in another way. You got to listen or not. But they're not going to, they have nothing to judge you on from prior. And then the other part is the second one. That's the first two of it. It's not always about you. People treat you by how they feel about themselves. And you have to remember that. As you go through things, people will treat you based on how they are feeling. Nowadays, we all love text messages. I cannot stand text messages. If it takes more than 3, I'm calling you. Because I will read a text message based on how I am feeling. If Debbie sends me a text message saying, hello, I woke up in a good mood. Oh, hey, Debbie, how you doing? Hello. Why is she being sarcastic? What does she mean by that? It all depends on how I feel. Yeah, we've all seen that. So it's not always how your groups will not always treat you based on you. They'll treat you based on them. Anyway, power thoughts. I thought I would add these this time. We did it last time. I think they got a lot of conversation, and there'll be more later on. Because at the end of this, I will send you an email with the power thoughts related to this topic. So let's go on. I say, what's a group? That's easy. We're all individual. We're assembled for some unifying relationship. We're going the same direction. We're whatever the case may be. You know, and this part is the easy part. There's formal groups. I'm at work. I'm on a sports team. I'm on this team. You know, there's informal, friends, family. Well, there's friends, neighbors. You may be part of a group at work, but then within that, you've got your own little group within your department. And then there's your personal groups. And do not underestimate the value of the personal groups. We're going to go into that in a moment. I'm going a little fast right now because the next part's where we're going to start doing some talking. As I put together this slide, I was trying to think, what do I mean by groups? This is a list. You know, it's simple. What's a group? Well, you got your grade school friends, your high school friends, college, military, you know, all these things. Have I missed any examples of groups? These are just examples of groups that you may travel with. I mean, ladies, can you think of any examples I've missed?
Yeah, the only one that comes to my mind is, and it was very important to me as a single mom, was it was a MOPS group. It was moms of preschoolers. That was huge. That was huge in my world when I was a single mom.
I'm going to put that needs-based groups because that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Common, you're all unified because we've got the preschoolers who are trying to survive. So look at the last one I put there. We're going to take a quick aside. How are you a group? You are singular. How can you be a group? This may be the most important group of all. Let's talk about you first. Before we talk about groups, we're going to talk about you and the effect of you on you. Sadly, that stat is true. You've got 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Majority, the vast majority are the routine stuff. Breathe, walk, look at something. Things you don't even think about. They're just automatic. Okay, that's the majority of it. Okay. Of the rest, 80% are negative. We have our brains wired for survival. I want you to think about that. 80% are negative. What that breaks down to, and I actually did the math on this. That equates to a negative thought every 12 seconds, every day, all day. Now, that is somebody, because we have groups we walk with. I have college friends, okay, and I can call them, talk to them anytime. I have work friends. I'll see them tonight. But my college friends aren't around me right now. My work friends are not around me right now. That voice in my head is with me no matter where I go. You are a group in my opinion, in of yourself, because that group, that voice in your head, the one that says, what are you doing? The other one says, way to go. They're in your head. And I'm not talking about hearing voices. So, yeah. there's that nagging voice in your head that says, sadly, it's and unless you work on it, unless you recognize that. Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule. Do something within 5 seconds or else you're going to talk yourself out of it. Huh. Oh, yeah. Mel Robbins, she did this book called The 5-Second Rule. And what she talks about is when you have a thought, have an idea, do it within 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. Because if you wait longer than that, you're going to talk yourself out of it. That's that part of the brain that's holding us back. So you're trying to go towards whatever your goal you're going towards. I want to be a writer. Who the heck do I think I am to be a writer? My writing is boring and dry. This is me talking to me. I write an amazing business report. I am very good. It is factual, to the point, concise, and dry as can be. So unless you're into that topic, it is boring as can be. And that was my writing style for so long. When my oldest son was born, I wanted to tell him kid stories. So I would try to tell stories, create stories in my head. Factual, to the point, boring, no adjectives. It's horrible. So I remember thinking, I can't tell my kids, I can't make up stories, but I wanted to. But they're boring. They're stupid. They don't make any sense. That was the voice in my head. But I got my little boy there in front of me, and I really wanted to try. And I kept trying, and I kept writing. And luckily, when they're 1 and 2 years old, they don't know the difference. Doing it for a while, when he gets old enough to understand, I was better. But for the longest time, that voice, those voices in my head were like, I mean, I still have some of the ones we wrote, the original ones I wrote. I kept them. And it's like, oh my gosh, so much different nowadays. But it's the effect it had on me. And the effect of, you can't do this. Look how bad these are. And they were objectively bad. They were not good stories. But once again, a 1-year-old doesn't care. But objectively, they were bad. And I could have stopped because my group in my head was saying, or I could have kept going. So the effect of you on you. Now I'm going to pause here and see. I wanted to lay the groundwork and share some stuff with me. I don't know Are there any examples you ladies might be comfortable sharing on that concept? And if you're not, that's fine too. This is a very sensitive topic on some people.
Yeah, I just think that early on in my work career, I just didn't have the confidence, you know, when you're in your 20s and even in your 30s, I just didn't have the confidence. And role models play such a huge important part in our lives. And I remember very clearly, I had this one boss, and she made such an impact on me because she could be in a very grumpy mood and we never felt like she was taking it out on us as her staff. And but more than me realizing that she was doing that, doing such a great job of communicating that, it made me stop and say, what exactly is she doing that makes us accept her as our boss? We loved her more than any other boss we'd ever had. And we're like, what is the trick? What is the secret sauce? What is it that she's doing? Because I want to learn that thing. I want to learn that thing that she's doing. And what I realized was she was simply clearing the air as soon as she got in. She wasn't allowing the rest of the staff to tell themselves stories about her in their heads. You know, have you ever been in an environment where somebody is in a really bad mood and so you start telling yourself a story? Oh boy, they're grumpy today. Or wow, wonder what happened to them this morning. Wonder who cut them off in traffic. You know, you start telling yourself a story about this person, and then you start believing the story. And then when you get to the water cooler, you're like, oh, she must have got cut off in traffic this morning. Look how grumpy she is, you know.
Why is she mad at me?
Yeah, and then you do internalize that, like, oh, I must have done something wrong. I've done something wrong, or I've not measured up to her expectation of me. So somehow it's my fault that she is now in this grumpy mood. And so then everybody starts to stay away. You know, they start to avoid, and that doesn't make for a very nice work environment. And so I really ask myself, what is it that she's doing? And she simply was clearing the air as soon as she got into the office. She would clear the air right up front. She would say, okay, everybody, I'm really grouchy this morning. I didn't get any sleep last night. I haven't felt well, but I'm doing better. Give me 10 minutes before you bring any issues into my office, and then we'll deal with it. Just give me 10 minutes to get my coffee and get myself together, and then we'll hit this day hard, and then she would turn it around. She'd say, and then we're going to be successful. We're going to take it over the top. We're going to reach all our goals. And everybody left that little meeting, if you will, impromptu meeting, and nobody felt bad. Nobody felt like it was their fault. Nobody felt like, and everybody then wanted to help her instead of avoid her.
So look at
and so I realized that it just had everything to do with communication at large, and the way she communicated in her world, which she chose to just make it a very impromptu. She didn't call a big meeting and everybody sit down and get out your note tablet and all. She would just make it very impromptu type meeting. So I've learned that, you know, and then I think as you go through life, I think you hold on to the things that you feel are helpful, and hopefully let go of the things that are not. And so I've always held on to that. And so I've now used that in all of my relationships. A lot of times in the mornings, you know, Mark and I will get up in the morning and I'll just clear the air. I'll just say, you know, I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm a little grumpy this morning. And he laughs about it because I make a joke about it. And then he laughs, and next thing you know, he's trying to help me instead of avoid me. He's now bringing me a cup of coffee, and he's making little jabs like, well, here, maybe this will cheer you up, you know. Want me to put a little Bailey's in that for you? And I don't drink, so that's you have to understand how funny that is in my world, because I'm kind of like, oh, heavens no, I don't want any Bailey's in my coffee. But he knows that it's going to make me laugh. And so as you see, it's just sometimes just clearing the air. So I think that's probably what I've learned over the years. But up until I learned that, I was the person doing the avoiding, thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What did I say? You know, again, it's that group of you that was talking in my head that was saying, Kathy, you must have really screwed up because she's really mad this morning. And so, you know, once I learned that and decided to hold on to that as a tool that I could use, that was huge for me.
That's important. I like that example. Debbie, should I bother you? Should I, huh? Pardon?
I'm going to pass.
Oh, that's good. So we're going to, yeah, we're going to, actually, we're going to go back one. So 2 things on this. One, so this is one person that you travel with, and we're actually going back a little bit. This is twofold. What you shared, Kathy, was twofolds. One, the effect you had on you or could have had on you, and I think most people relate to that. Two, the effect of, this is the effect a person had on you, her group, and it lasts to this day. Are you still in touch with this person?
I am. Yes, I am.
So you're still in touch, and that's good. So, but the effect she had on you all these years, I'm going to share a little on the opposite side of the story. An effect somebody had on me, and I only knew him for about 6 weeks when I was 15 years old. I was 15 or 16, I forget when. I was in Arizona working construction with my uncle. We were building my grandma's house. It was a 3-car cinder block garage to have an apartment on top. There was my uncle, me, and Tom. Tom was a master bricklayer. So we were laying bricks, we're laying cinder blocks, you know, making the cement. And my job was to make the cement and then carry the blocks to him, and Tom would do it. Tom's an older gentleman. Okay. I came out one morning, I had a headache. I explained to them, to my Uncle Tom, says, you know what? Leave me alone. I've got a headache. I don't feel good. And I was every bit as arrogant as that. Tom proceeded in his very understanding, caring way, picked me up, folded me in half, took me butt first, shoved me into a 55-gallon drum of water. How's your headache now? What that taught me, and I think about him, I only knew him for like those 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it was. But I think about that when I start to complain or I'm gonna tell a group something, because really he's like, it doesn't matter. This is yours. We have something to do. And all I was doing was complaining and fussing, and I was whining a little bit. I was. There are better ways of handling that. And Tom taught me in that one encounter. He only did it once, by the way, but in that one encounter taught me about, yeah, as I think back, there was a better way to handle that. Whereas nowadays, if I have a headache, and I do get headaches, hey guys, I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to be very, very quiet. This is why I'm quiet. And I do that for 2 folds. One, I want people to be quiet because my head hurts. 2, I want them to know why I'm being quiet so they don't think, what'd I do? Why is he mad at me? So the change in communication over the years and the impact one guy had on me, and I didn't pick this up till later, but the fact is I look back and it's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. But there's the impact of a person I travel with through life. She was somewhere in my path, and it's one person. Like your person, Kathy, she taught you something. She taught you something. And it wasn't like she sat down, today I will teach my staff. Tom didn't say, today I'll teach Mason. Nope. He just did it, and the impact they have on us. So groups are a double-edged sword. Any of those groups I listed. Okay. This is where I'm going to ask you, ladies, and I like to get official definitions, and the fact is, this is Carnegie Mellon's. That's a pretty credible place, and I like this definition. Share diverse perspectives, accountability, social support to take risks. I love that. I came across that. I thought that was awesome. Now my question is, what do you guys think? Like, how can a group help you with diverse views? Any of these three examples, accountability, risk, what do you think? How have groups in the past helped you with this? When I say group, I would be curious as to what kind of a person, a team, whatever. More.
Well, I just had lunch yesterday with my high school gals that I graduated from high school with, and it really kind of hit me. We were just having a conversation. We were just chatting, and again, it's not that I hadn't realized it before, but it was something that I made note of yesterday in particular, how many different viewpoints everyone in the group had about the same topic when a subject would come up. And then everybody, and again, we were just casually chatting. It wasn't, we weren't there to try to solve any particular issue like you might do in a business meeting. It's just having conversation and just getting caught up with each other. But as different topics would come up, it was just that aha for me, realizing how many diverse views there were in the room over the same topic, and making a mental note to myself that not only is it going to happen in this small of a group, that we all basically grew up in the same town, went to the same school, graduated from the same class, had the same teachers, and we all have such different viewpoints, how much more that is possible now when we realize we're putting our information out on social media, and how many diverse viewpoints there's going to be across just our readership, depending on what products or services we're putting out there. So it was just an aha moment for me.
Very good. It's funny, I intentionally will sometimes find people who have the different point of view, or I will intentionally take the opposite view just for the sake of it. There's a gentleman I work with. He and I
bet you were good on the debate team when you were in high school.
Never did debate team.
I did. I loved it.
He and I have different views on things, but the nice thing is we can talk, and I'll take an opposite view of his. Sometimes I'll be seeing the same thing. I'll say, but let me play devil's advocate, just to throw the other side, to understand how the other point of view is. So I definitely understand it. Accountability. I know you've had people hold you accountable. I mean, people and things can hold you accountable. I don't know about you, but I need to be held accountable, because if left to my own devices, I can wander, contentedly so wander, and not get where I want. So the accountability part, I think, is very important. And the taking risks part, I personally am risk averse in many areas, but if you don't take risks, you don't get the rewards.
Well, I think for me, it's discovering my deepest why that I want to do something. And no matter what diverse viewpoints there might be from any of my groups, once it's my authentic, deepest why, some of those groups inadvertently hold me accountable. They don't, it's not like they set out to hold me accountable, but they'll come at me at some point when I'm putting out some products, and they'll go, Kathy, I thought you wanted to do XYZ. Why are you doing ABC instead? And I'm like, oh, you are correct. Let me go back and revisit that. Because I think we do get, I'll say casually, I think we kind of get sucked into all the other gurus out there and what they're doing, and we think that we have to maybe do something like they're doing, and it doesn't really fit our core model. And so I do appreciate when my groups hold me accountable and go, thought you were more about this instead of that. And I'm like, you are correct. Let me fix that. And it is a risk to stick with your deepest why you're doing something. You do take a risk, Mason. It's like you wanting to tell stories, and you continue to tell stories, and now you're publishing stories. That's a risk. But you know what? You've had that desire and that why deep down in your gut for some time, and you're sticking to it. So kudos to you. And the same for me. I have to go back and revisit my why, and then I have to get myself back in alignment and be held accountable to that. And I have to take the risk that I'm doing the right thing for all the right reasons, and that God will honor it.
And it's good when folks will remind you, say, hey, at least you tried it.
Yes.
Friends will say, at least you tried it. It didn't work out the way I wanted, at least you tried it. Or I've got friends ask me, like you, what about this? I thought where are you at with this? Or this mastermind. You were the one who suggested the idea before I ever thought about it. So then that made me think I had to start creating it, and that held me accountable. So the effect of one person can have, on a group, or the effect of one person can have on another. These are people you travel with.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. Your various lanes, I'm sure they hold you accountable. Your real estate oriented lanes. I think you're in a couple of real estate oriented. So yeah, because you've got to either A, be producing for them, or B, they're asking you, well, what do you think about bed and breakfast XYZ? And I thought you were going to create bed and breakfast XYZ, or hey, could you? It's these groups by their needs and guides guiding you one place or another, or saying, wow, that is amazing, you've gotten this far. So all those things, you've taken that risks.
Well, and I had a gal the other day, and this is a perfect example. I had a gal the other day because I have one of my lanes is health and wellness, and my co-mod, she is an actual a medical practitioner, and I have a background with I'm certified in doing like aerobics, and I'm a certified health coach, and so I've done some education there. And I also ran a healthcare agency for 8 years, so I have a little bit of background there. But I had a gal who really didn't know me, and I commented something about health and wellness, and she said, she said, I looked through your profile, and she said, there's nothing there that shows you're qualified. She said, well, I guess it's not illegal for you to do this, even though you're not qualified. And so that really held me accountable, because it made me realize, how is that lane really being perceived? And I had to admit to myself, I had to look in the mirror, and this was a hard one. I had to look in the mirror, and I had to admit to myself that I really haven't given that lane enough attention. And that was my deepest why when I left my day job. My deepest why, like you, Mason, was to get my health back on track. And that's the lane I've spent the least amount of time in. And it really was a wake-up call for me to go back and revisit my why on that one. And in her own way of just making that comment is holding me accountable to my deepest why.
Excellent example. Excellent. Yes. Oh. Talking group searching. This is the part for some groups, we give so much emphasis, correctly so. For other groups, we don't give it nearly the attention it deserves. We talk about toxic workplace all the time nowadays. Work-life balance, stress at work. It's this is a big topic. Talk about toxic attitudes of your coworkers and people around you. Don't know if we pay enough attention to the people closest to you may have toxic attitudes, if not towards you as a person, towards your goals. Sometimes this toxicity is based consciously. Some of it is subconscious and a desire to protect you, or what they perceive as protecting. You can't do this. So groups throughout your years, the one person in the group, the guy picking on you, the bully, the person always mumbling under their breath, that has impact on you throughout the years, because that has impact on your self-esteem, your belief in yourself, your belief in your goals. So you do have to be aware of that. When I wrote this, it's like, sometimes you get lost. I've been part of groups where I just felt so overwhelmed that why was I even there? I'm considered part of the group, but I'm like, I'm just kind of I'm white noise, if you will. And then there's always those who actively alienate you. I don't want you here. Risk averse, play it safe. Our families love us, and our friends love us and care about us. They may be some of the first people to tell you, don't do that. The ones who love you are probably going to be one of the first ones to tell you to try and hold you back. And that is awful. One, the experience. Two, that's a true statement. They want to protect you. They don't want you to take a chance. They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to get stressed. But don't take a chance. If you don't stress yourself a little bit, how can you grow? And I'll ask them. I mean, that one right there is the most personal. And I will give you an example. I will give you the vulnerable example. When I was in high school, I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. Most of my friends didn't think I could do it. And my own mother said, "You're an embarrassment." These are people who just, how could you do that? You're not good enough. Those people, because of their own needs, agendas, and like that, were projecting. And those groups could have hurt me, or they could have helped me. In my case, I was able to take that as a strength, because look, if I get this done. But these things do happen, and you should not ignore the effect on them, the effect on you, pardon me. So any other way they can hurt is if you just can't connect with them, you're just on different pages. These are some of the things I thought of. How can groups along our life hurt us? I mean, what do you ladies think? I mean, how can groups hurt you because you're trying to move forward on your own goals to whatever your destination is? Anyway, thoughts?
I have two really great examples. The first one was I was really struggling as a single mom. You guys know my story, the whole single mom story, 2 minimum wage jobs. And one of my jobs in sales, so I wore acrylic nails as part of my uniform, if you will. I always got my nails done, even though I was financially struggling. I can remember even counting out my change out of my cup holder in my car to pay for my nail appointment. I remember doing that a few times. And when I realized, and I won't get into that story per se, but when I realized what a nail tech could make, I decided that I was going to go back to cosmetology school and just do the nail program. It was a shorter program. I could squeak out the finances to do that one in the time. And then that would maybe give me enough extra cash to buy a decent car. That was my goal, was to just buy a decent car with my nail money. And I remember when I circled back around and the gal who did my nails for years retired. I thought she was going to be so proud of me because I became a nail tech, and I actually at that point realized I need to do this full time. The money was so much better than my corporate job that I need to do this full time. And I thought for sure she would be really proud of me. And so when I finally ran into her, I said, guess what? I said, I'm a nail tech now, just like you. And she was like, oh, honey. Oh, she goes, I wished you would have talked to me first. She said, you're in nail dust all day long. It's like drywall dust. And she said, and it ruins your clothes, and you can never have nice nails yourself. And you know, and she said, I just wish you would have talked to me first. It's a terrible career. And I remember thinking to myself, what? I thought you would, I was so surprised. I thought she would be proud of me, like, you go, girl, good for you. But instead, she rained all over my parade that it was, you know, it was a terrible career. And what was I thinking? And I should have talked to her first. And just so you know, because I had some aha moments, and I did not let that stop me. And I did end up with 5 salons, and I did work for 25 years in the business, and I did retire. And I now am sitting on 5 paid for commercial buildings, and she's still a nail tech. Just so you know. And a wonderful lady, don't get me wrong. And I wish that I could wave a magic wand and maybe have her make different choices in her nail career instead of her raining on my parade on the choices that I made in my nail career. So you have to be careful not to let it stop your dream, even though somebody, you know, again, like I said, wants to really rain on your parade. Because she's a wonderful lady. She was the best nail tech ever. And which is why, you know, her customers still love her, and she's still doing nails. And I don't know her financial situation. So maybe she's doing it because she loves it, because I get it. I loved it too. And so I really don't know her financial situation, but I hope and pray that she has the freedom to do whatever she wants. And if doing nails still, you know, in her retirement is what she wants, then good for her. Because I don't want to rain on her parade. You know, I don't want to turn that around and do to her what I felt like she was doing to me. But it did make me pause for a moment. It made me question my choices. It does have an effect when folks come at you with something negative. And it did make me pause. And I remember thinking, well, I'm in too deep now to change my mind. Like, it even occurred to me that maybe I should change my mind. So it had a very deep impression on me that she thought it was a terrible idea, to the point where I thought, oh, maybe I should have talked to her first, you know, but I didn't, and it worked out. And so it's all good. And I stayed with my dream. Now, the second one, my second example, is after I retired from the nail industry altogether. I actually gave away my salons. I had 5 salons. I gave all of them away, but I kept the real estate, which is my retirement. That's a whole real estate conversation. So I decided, because at age 12, I told my mom at age 12 that someday when I retire, I'm going to run a bed and breakfast. Now, I'm not sure that at age 12, I really knew what a bed and breakfast was or what all that meant, but I read it in a book, and, you know, some New England bed and breakfast, and, you know, and then we watched the TV shows. What was the TV show that was the big bed and breakfast, and there was the snow? Yeah, Bob Newhart. Oh, and I thought, I'm going to run a bed and breakfast someday. So anyhow, fast forward, I'm now retired from the salon industry. I have the passive income that I need, but I was afraid I was going to be bored, and I always wanted to do a bed and breakfast. So I told Mark, I want to open up our home as a bed and breakfast. And of course, you know, that was a little bit, Debbie remembers that. So that was a little bit of a struggle going through that. But it worked out. But our best friends, my girlfriend turned to me. Actually, she and her husband had a chat that they needed to sit me down and have a talk with me. So they sat me down one day, and my best girlfriend says to me, you are going to wake up dead. You're going to have weird people in your house, and somebody is going to murder you. And I'm like, what? And she says, my husband and I, which these are our best friends, she said, we just decided that we would not do our due diligence, if we did not sit you down and express to you our fear that you are putting yourself in danger, you need to not do this, you need to take, a firearm class or something, you need to protect yourself, you need to not live there, you need to not stay there. If you've got a stranger there, you need to go stay at your daughter's house and not be there if somebody else is in the house. And I mean, it was this whole conversation. And again, I had 25 years in the hospitality industry, so I thanked her, and I received it in the vein that she intended it. She was worried about me. She cared about me. She really, this was her fear that she was putting over on me. And because she does not like anyone in her, I mean, her house is like locked up like Fort Knox at night. And so that she was putting her fear over on me. And so I had to take that with how she intended it and thank her, for her caring and her concern. And we went forward and opened the bed and breakfast. Now, since then, I have generated the cash flow just through the bed and breakfast that I have purchased 3 more properties and was able to pay cash for additional real estate properties. And they were funded out of the bed and breakfast proceeds. So it's a very lucrative job. It's very easy for me because I spent, 25 years in the hospitality industry. And so it just is kind of second nature because I've done it for so many years. We've all had jobs like that we just know so well. And so it just works for me. It's not for everyone. I get it. Not everybody wants strangers, in the next room, and not everyone finds it, easy to do. They would find it very stressful, but I find it almost like not even a job. I mean, I spend a couple of hours a day on flip day to make a couple of beds and do some laundry. So that's the whole job. Anyway, those are my 2 examples. And I had to really, the first one made me pause because I really didn't know what I didn't know about the salon industry. And I did question my choices. The second one, about the bed and breakfast, I knew that I knew how to do it. And so that one did not make me pause, but I did have to understand that she intended it to protect me. And so I had to take it in the vein it was intended. So anyway, those are my 2 examples, and both turned out very successful. So back to you, Mason.
And like you said, your friend was just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
By stopping you.
And you're sticking to it, right, Kathy?
Do what now?
You're sticking to it.
Yes.
This is your story, and that's it.
Yep. And I smiled politely. And the other thing was kind of a fun little thing. Mark and I met ballroom dancing. And so I have some beautiful ballroom dancing pictures. And I don't normally talk like this, but my girlfriend, she's got a little bit of a potty mouth. And so she told me, she said, you're going to have to get rid of that ballroom shit if you're going to expect people to actually want to stay there. The room that is the most favorite of all of my rooms is the one with the ballroom pictures. Everyone that goes in there said, oh my gosh, we love how this room is decorated. And that's the one where I have the ballroom pictures in there. So that's funny too, because again, it's just a difference in taste and in style. And we're best friends, which, some of my other friends go, it's just odd that you 2 girls are best friends because your tastes are so different. But I respect hers and she respects mine. But at that point, she just really thought that is so foreign to how she would decorate that she did say, if you're going to go ahead with this, you need to get rid of the ballroom pictures. But she called it the ballroom shit. She said, you need to get rid of that ballroom shit if you're going to really go forward with this. And I didn't. I actually embraced it. So
once again, it's they're projecting on you they didn't wake up and say, man, how can I stop Kathy today? At least how can I stop Kathy with a malicious intent in mind? But sometimes, many times, those closest to us can do that. They may not even recognize they're doing it.
Well, and I think we allow some of our friends and family to really have an impact on us because when they do say something like that, it does make us question ourselves.
Yes.
You know, like the first gal, when she said, oh, I mean, she just seemed heartbroken. She goes, oh, I wish you would have talked to me before you went to school. She said, it's a terrible career.
The whole impact, the whole purpose of today's session is the impact that various groups, that someone or someone's, I made up a word there, can have on you. You know,
Yeah.
you know, so it's funny, some of my stuff I write, I like to write, I enjoy it. And I have some people who are close to me saying, yeah, that's just horrible. And yet then but I keep doing it. And I have other people who it matters to them. And it just depends on which group you want to listen to. Which one will have the most impact on you at any point in time, and they may come back. And that's what it comes down to is, okay, these people impact you. How do you interpret that impact? They say the truth hurts. The truth hurts,
Right.
but you need to be careful of what truth you accept. Okay, there's lots of truths about me. You know, they're truth. It's true statement. But I have to be careful which ones I accept and internalize. Okay, it doesn't mean they're not true. But that doesn't mean I have to accept it either. A, I'm trying to change it, or B, you know, when you look at the big scheme of things, it's not that important. You know, truth hurts, but be careful the truth you accept. And once again, it's the impact as you go through life, the impact these things can have on you from a child, from your teenage years, your 20s, whatever. It has an impact. And some people try to say, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
It may be, you may not recognize it. Many times you don't.
I think too, I think oftentimes we have to know ourselves well enough to know which criticism, I'll call it criticism, in comments, which ones to take, which ones that makes us change ourselves, and which ones that we can leave behind. So when the gal said something about, oh, well, I don't see anything in your profile that shows that you have any medical background for this health and wellness, but I guess it's not illegal if you say you can teach people, you know, that was a truth that I had to take and allow it to change me and allow it to say, I had to look at it honestly and say, ouch. Okay. But what do I need to now go back and revisit that lane. And if I'm going to keep that lane, I need to give it some attention. And I need to create the content there that is helpful, that doesn't make somebody look at that lane and go, what in the world is she doing there? And so that was a truth that I had to let change me. When the gal kind of said, oh, it's too bad that you're going to be a nail tech, that I didn't know what to do with that one, because I didn't know what I didn't know at that point. Right. I was so new in the industry. And that one, I did allow it to cause me to be, what's the right word? Cautious. So every time I would make a choice in the salon industry, I caught myself being cautious, because I caught myself thinking, is this what she's talking about? Is this what she meant? And so it did affect me. It didn't stop me, but it did affect me, because I proceeded cautiously, which may have not been a bad thing, actually, because then I made double sure that whatever decisions I made, it was going to work. I didn't try something and then lose a bunch of money trying it, and then go, oh, she was right. It caused me to be cautious. But then the last one with the bed and breakfast, I already knew that I was comfortable doing it. I had been in that environment. And so that one, it didn't cause me to have to revisit my dream. It didn't cause me to have to be more cautious. It just let me know how much that she really cared about me, that they felt they needed to sit me down to have that conversation. And it basically made that friendship even stronger. realizing how much that they cared. So, but it didn't cause me to change any of my dream. It didn't even occur to me to be cautious or backtrack on that one, because I already had the confidence in that one. So I think we have to know ourselves well enough to know how to receive some of this group feedback, no matter what group it's coming from. I think we have to know ourselves and our dreams and our skill set. And I think for me, if I could instill one thing for any of our listeners is whatever it is that you try, whatever path, whatever choices you make, there's going to be some messy spots in there, and it's okay. You know, if you want to be a writer and you don't know how to be a writer, you know, it's gonna be a little ugly before it gets pretty. It's gonna be a little messy as you're figuring it out. You know, my first set of nails weren't worth paying for. But I got really good by the end of the day. I got really good doing nails, but my first set, not so much, you know. And even in the bed and breakfast, you know, we've regrouped several times. We've changed how we do things. As we go down that path, we get more clarity. And so I remember my first guest, I had this full seated breakfast ready to go, and they're like, "Oh, we have to catch a flight. Sorry, we can't stay for breakfast. We've got a flight." And out the door they went, and there I sat with a table full of food. And I thought, okay, that didn't work out. So it's going to be messy at first as you go for your dream, and it's okay. It's okay that it's messy. Yeah, but you just have to, you know, have that goal and know what it is that on what you really want, how you really want to present yourself to the world, who it is that you really want to be. And I think who you are is so much more important than what you do. And so as you're learning who you are and what you like and how you can contribute and what your legacy, Debbie's all about legacy, what your legacy is going to be, it's okay. It's okay for the path to be a little messy. Yeah, my favorite hiking paths are the ones where I have to hike through the mud a little bit to get to the top of the mountain. Yeah.
Debbie, you doing okay over there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So at the end of the day, this is one of my most favorite quotes, and actually something I wrestle with. We're the average of the 5 people I spend the most time with.
Yes.
Okay. The question is, can you name 5 people you spend time with often? And are they the people you want to get you to where you think you want to go? That's something to consider. I know that I personally am looking at it as, okay, I want to find some other people in my own immediate circle. But because the impact of groups on you, okay? Are you going to play it safe, never venture out, never do anything? Or are you going to go for it, take a chance? Are you going to hide the corner because somebody's beating you down? Are you going to say, no, I'm coming out? And these people around you, whoever is closest to you, you know, the ones you spend the most time with. And it's interesting when I see this quote, here's what I always think about. It doesn't necessarily spend the most time with as in person. To me, it's the emotional or psychological connection is what I think it's referred to. Me, that's how I interpret it. You know, one of my 5 lives in Texas. I have not seen him in years, but he is one of my closest friends. He's one of my 5. So it's because we have the connection. That's who you spend the time with. That's who you talk to. So that's, to me, that's the biggest takeaway quote from today. So, and takeaway things I'm going to send you, ladies. Next section of power thoughts related to this. And then the starfish story. I love the starfish story. If you don't remember it, I'll be sending you a copy of it. And of course, points to ponder. These are the questions you can answer and edit and like that. So, and then the final session is October 27th, 10 a.m. Talking about choices, and we'll be wrapping up at that point. So,
Mason, I love it. I love it. This has been wonderful because it makes me revisit and actually put into words, the stories that I shared today, I hadn't shared before. So it actually allowed me to understand myself better as to where I was in all of those journeys and how I did interpret those relationships. So it is super important, the folks that we spend our time with. Absolutely. And I'm glad I get to spend my time with you guys.
Debbie.
Kathy, like you said, you shared many stories here today. And in most cases, when you relive them, 10, 20 years down the road, do you find that it puts a different perspective on what had occurred, and now you're reliving it or rethinking it? And I mean, isn't that kind of what you're saying, that that's what happened?
Absolutely. And part of it too is I think as we go through life, we get to know ourselves better.
Mm-hmm.
And we know how we function at a core level. And sometimes that core level is where we, and I'll stop for all of you that are listening. It's in your gut. It's how something makes you feel. And so sometimes a supervisor can say something and it hits you a certain way in your core, and then you carry that with you for the rest of your life, and they don't even remember they said it, whatever it was they said. And so I think we have to revisit some of those stories and understand how they were intended. Because if I even go back to the nail tech story, where my nail tech, who was a lot older than I was, when she was like, "Oh, honey, I wish," she meant that sincerely. She wasn't trying to rain on my parade per se. But I don't know her journey. I don't know what struggles she had in her journey as a nail tech. I don't know the folks that she worked alongside. I don't know how wounded she might have been in her journey to then say to me, "Oh, you don't want to do that." Trust me, I've had a bad time there, and you really don't want to go there. And again, I think it was just like my good friends later on in the latter story. I think she was trying to protect me. And her version was, I'm going to work in nail dust. I'm like, what? How, like, really? That's your reason I shouldn't do this, is because I'm going to have nail dust on my clothes as I go to the bank every Friday with my dollars that everybody put on my table. Cute little side note. So I go to the bank because when you're in a salon industry, about a third of the people pay you with cash, a third pay you with a check, and a third pay you with their credit card. That just seemed to be the norm. Just as my observation. It didn't matter to me how they paid, but that was my observation. So every Friday I would have a stack of $1 bills because my nail balance was like $22. So I'd get a 20 and some ones, or it'd be 40, 45, and I'd get a couple of 20s, a 5, and then some ones for a tip. So I always had this stack of ones. So anyhow, I went to the bank and I went to deposit the money. And finally the teller says to me, she says, "I've been meaning to ask you this for weeks." She goes, "What is it that you do?" And because I had this stack of money that I'm depositing, and she goes, "What is it that you do?" And I said, "Trust me," I said, "if it was that, I would drive a much nicer car." So that's been the joke. But anyway, the nail industry, the salon industry was wonderful for me. But maybe it wasn't for everybody. And I get that. So yeah. And the bed and breakfast has been good for me, but maybe it hasn't been for everybody.
Right.
And I've watched you since the beginning and where you started with that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this, once again, and like I said, today's focus was on the effective groups. And in your case, for example, the lady saying, you're going to run a bed and breakfast, you're going to wake up dead, et cetera, et cetera. Those were her fears being projected on you. That didn't stop you. That didn't stop you. The nail tech, hey, I don't want, you shouldn't do this. That didn't stop you. It made you stop and consider some things. It didn't stop you. You have to, all these messages come in, and how are they going to impact you? And these messages come in so many different ways. And that's the whole purpose of understanding. No one does anything alone. No one does anything alone. We'd like to think we did it all by ourselves. I did X all by myself. Well, if I drill down a little bit, I'll bet you had somebody helping you somewhere along the way. Now, that person may not have been actively working on that project, writing those lines, but someone was supporting you some other way. If you got your family and you're trying to pursue this goal, okay? Well, if there's anybody else in your life, someone's got to help take care of that stuff while you're focused on this. There's always somebody helping you. There's always somebody there. And they can have such a tremendous impact on you, positive or negative. Sometimes their positive statements are positive. Sometimes their negative statements are positive. It just depends on how you view it, but recognize it and recognize that they have an influence on you. And what do you want that influence to be in the long run?
Yeah.
But I think you have to know yourself too. You have to know how you receive that information so that you know how to sort through it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So, and I think you need some encouragers in your world, no matter what you're doing. My dad was probably my biggest encourager growing up. And so I had an example of that. My mother, on the other hand, was always the negative naysayer. And she was like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't wear that. You can't go there. You can't work that job. You can't drive that car. And my dad would be like, well, I guess it'd be all right. And so, I had a good visual of both of those. And so, as we grow up, we decide who we want to be and how we want to be. And I kept some good things from my mom, and I kept some good things from my dad, that I made the decision I wanted to be. But I've also learned that oftentimes, again, it's their fears. In my situation, especially with my nail story and the B&B story, it was their fears of them putting their fears on me. It wasn't my fear, it was their fear. And I think we have to be able to separate that.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, well, thank you for this. I appreciate it. And
so before we go, I want to toss out there, Debbie, are you ready in January? And we're going to do a different date and time. Are you, and we can talk about what works for your schedule. Are you ready to do a 5 session of something?
I could be. Yes.
Yes. And give it a try.
Yes.
And on a side note, while I have you both here, and I've already brought it up to Debbie, is I am going to launch a Freestyle Living magazine. And I have asked Debbie to submit a 250-word article. And Mason, I would like to invite you, since you are a writer, if you would like to, you can stay on the same topic that you've been working on, since you're kind of in the trenches with this topic. If you'd like to do an article, a 250-word article, I am putting together sometime in the next few days a Google Doc that you would fill out and link your document to, and give me, some pictures that go with your article. It doesn't have to necessarily be headshots of you. I'd like at least one headshot of you to put at the bottom to say this article is written by Mason Van Dyke, or this article is written by Debbie Marks.
What do you have to be on Freestyle Living, or just an article in general?
The magazine is Freestyle Living, and this is going to be the fall edition. And so it would be something that you could tie together with the season. And so it could, for Debbie, because she does Going Green with Debbie Marks, and she does all of the organic, it could be even about harvest season for her. But you could tie it into a lesson, like in the fall of your life. You could tie it into some sort of an emotional lesson or moral of the story. So it's however you want to tie it in. And so we're going to do the seasons. And so October, it's going to launch in October, so it'll be fall. And then it's going to be quarterly. So then the next season, of course, will be winter. And so then just the articles, and you guys can be what I call staff writers. I want to make it available to the folks that have been with me the longest to be my freelance staff writers that I would publish an article every quarter from you guys. And you could just put it on your calendar to send me a 250 word article with a couple, 3 pictures that would go with it. Like Debbie could have some canning pictures or whatever. And you could, Mason, let's say you wrote about the forest of your life, and you could put some forest pictures in there.
Have a different idea.
But whatever you really want to write about, and as long as it goes with the seasonal theme, and that you can segue somehow in your writing to refer to the season, whether it's the winter of life or the spring and new things, and and tie in with the freestyle living on how this lesson helps you live a freestyle life. Like for Debbie, for example, and again, I'm using Debbie only because I know her lane pretty well. She could talk about, this is harvest season, and some pictures of canning or harvesting or whatever. And the article was, written by Debbie Marks, and with a little headshot of her. And then she could tie it back into, this allows me to have freestyle living because I don't have to go to the grocery store to buy this stuff. So this actually makes my life more free. Not to mention growing your own food. You're not paying for all that produce, and who knows what grocery prices are gonna be coming up. So see, she can tie all of that into freestyle living and the fall harvest. Mm-hmm. And so those are the two what word do I want, Mason? Those are the two things I want you to connect with, is the season and the fact that it pushes your cart toward freestyle living. Okay. And it could just be, if you want to write something about mindset, because your whole 5 sessions, Mason, a tremendous amount on mindset. And so
right now, my biggest challenge is 250 words. So.
It adds up fast.
It does. And you have to have, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So, that, yeah, and you have to, by the end, you have to tie it up with, here's how it relates to the fall season of your life, and how it allows me to think freely, or have more freestyle living, or to be free, or, something to that effect.
Mason, I just finished an article with 900 words.
Now, again, if you're going to go a little, I get it. If you go over, if you need to go over, I get that. It just means that I have to put you into 2 pages instead of 1 page, which is okay. And I can do that. But again, once I send you the PDF or the Google form to fill out, when you connect your article, it's going to have to be in New Times Roman 12-point double space. That way I can just copy and paste it, and I don't have to retype everybody's article, because that would take me forever.
Right.
And so, but I'll have all of that in the Google Doc.
New Time Romans, and you said 12.5?
12-point double spaced. 12-point double spaced. And that way I can just copy and paste it over into my magazine format.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to condense it down to 250. Because
if it's 300, I'm good with, you see where I'm going with that. I just, again, I don't want a 6-page article in a magazine. I want it to either be 1 page, or I want it to be 2, like you can open up the fold and your story is there.
So, and related to this, so I used to write articles for church newsletter years ago, and the pastor at the time said the only thing she asked was to keep it to 1 page. And I asked her why. She said, well, mailing costs. Okay, that's cool. So I had to learn how to condense things down to 1 page for that purpose, which was a very educational for me, because I'll take a 5-minute topic and make it 45 minutes, no problem. So I usually now try and keep things to a page, to just a skosh over it. The problem is a page is about 400-ish words, 400 to 500 words, depending on how you do it. So that's what this will be a neat exercise to readjust it down. So, because I've done it may submit. So yeah.
See, with the magazine, I also, when you're looking at a magazine, you don't want a whole magazine page of nothing but words. You need to put some pictures in there. Yeah. So that's why, 400 becomes a two-page magazine article. Yeah. Debbie.
And you want all pictures as JPEGs.
Or PNG, just something that I can save into my gallery and then upload into the magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do everything JPEG, so.
Okay.
Although when you might want to consider looking at Times New Roman, take a look at how Arial works for you also. Arial is a more accepted font nowadays. So take a look how it looks for you.
Okay.
Yeah, because I always write in Comic Sans.
Yeah, Comic Sans is not necessarily the best for business type stuff for this. Times New Roman used to be used to be the standard for business, because that's what I grew up with, and that has changed. I don't know what current today's is, but Arial, and if not Arial, I think Courier.
Okay.
Courier.
Yeah. One of those two, and it just depends on what you want to create, Kathy, because maybe Debbie does something fun and like you might want to do her Comic Sans, like she said, because that's a fun font. Or mine might be this, so you want a little serious, more of a serious kind of, because the font creates a visual which creates emotion. So now you're getting the facts of the details of magazine publishing. Now, is this hard copy or e-copy?
This is going to be an e-copy, so I can adjust it once I get it uploaded. And I haven't uploaded my first article yet, so this is a learning curve for me.
Okay, now the other big thing is the date. When do you want them by? But you can put that on the form.
Yeah, I can put it on the form. I'm thinking somewhere in the first part of October, because I want to get it published before October is over. But we are off to Florida in October, but I can work from there as well. But we're off to October in Florida, back to the condo. Well, I'm trying to get it rented to a snowbird in January, and so we're still working on the rehab. We still have some work to do. And we're only there 2 more times.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we only have 2 more trips down, and then it's time for the snowbird to come. Yeah, Debbie.
I have to get going. I got another appointment at noon.
All right, guys.
So I'm sorry.
No. We all need to go. I've got guests coming. So thank you guys so much for that, and I will get that information out to you. So thank you so much. And and Debbie, you and I will chat about you doing a 5-session something starting in January.
Yes, ma'am. Sounds
all
good.
Right.
What about Linda? Don't forget Linda.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to forget Linda. She couldn't be on today. She had another commitment today. But yeah, she's on the list. Did Linda go before you last time, Debbie?
Yeah, I went right after her.
Would you prefer I go to Linda first?
Well, just ask her. Just convey with her and see what she wants to do.
All right. I will talk with her and we'll set that up. Okay.
Okay. See you guys later. Thanks,
All right.
Mason. It was a good job.
Yes, I loved it. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.